Now, this week marks Fraud Awareness Week, and as we approach peak shopping season, we're getting advice on how to avoid online scammers.
I don't know why I'm looking so happy, because the news is not good about what's been happening during COVID with this. Here with more is cyber psychologist Nicola Fox-Hamilton and Paul C. Dwyer, CEO of Cyber Risk International. Good morning to you both. Morning. Nicola, you research in this area. So are we all going to get scammed at some point because we're online all the time?
I think there's certainly the possibility that any of us could fall for it. It's not that we're all going to get scammed, and we can make ourselves aware of some of the challenges and some of the things to look out for. But there is the potential for us all to get scammed. I think a lot of people hold the view that it's only vulnerable people or older people that might fall for it, and that they wouldn't, that they know the signs in the Nigerian prince scams and things like that. There's no way they'd fall for those. But the scams are so varied now, and a lot of them are very sophisticated. And all it takes is a momentary lapse where you're very busy, you're very tired, you're working on something that's taking a lot of your cognitive resources and distracting you. And one moment and you've clicked on something and you've fallen for a scam. It's very easy to happen.
It seems that these scams are just getting more and more elaborate and clever. They're getting into the minds of people. They're kind of pulling on the heartstrings, or else they're making you doubt things. But, you know, whenever you get a text, certainly with charities, we know how difficult it is for charities at the minute. All of a sudden you get a text from a charity because they can go online. They can find out information about you. I mean, how are they getting so good at working out what's going to get people to click on their links?
Well, they use our psychology against us, and scammers have always been very good at that. So there's two different ways that they can approach scamming. So they can personalize it to you, where it's like a spear phishing scam directly about you. So they might research something about you, personalize it for you, and it makes it much more likely for you to fall for it because it's personalized. And then there's the ones that go out to everybody, and they rely on numbers. So even if only a small percentage of the vast numbers that go out fall for it, they still make money off it. And that relies more on the distraction techniques or on, like you said, emotions.
What do you mean distraction techniques?
So catching somebody in a moment where they're more susceptible to fall for it because they're cognitively engaged somewhere else, or they're out walking and they get a phone call, and so they're not really thinking about what's going on. So those kind of situations where your attention isn't fully on the task.
You study this. It happened to you.
Yeah. So I teach this.
Yeah.
And it just shows that anyone can fall for it. And there's plenty of examples of high-level people who, work for cybersecurity task forces who've fallen for phishing scams. But with my situation, I was extremely busy. It was the height of my PhD. I was very stressed.
Yeah.
I was very tired, working long days. So I was cognitively, all of my resources were on that. And I was using an email account that I wasn't used to, with a user interface that I wasn't used to. And it was an early Microsoft help desk one. And I clicked on it, put in my login details, and instantly realized. Instantly. But the key thing here is, when you realize you've fallen for it, is not to be ashamed that you've fallen for it. Anybody can. And to do something about it straight away. So I immediately got in touch with the IT department. They fixed it. Very little damage could be done because it was done so quickly. But if you feel ashamed of it and you don't tell anybody you've fallen for a scam, that's when damage can start to accumulate, I think.
Paul, you're CEO of Cyber Risk International. I mean, we're hearing about these scams. What do? Do you just not trust anything online? How do we avoid getting caught?
Well, the key thing is to trust but verify everything as you go along. The reality is, as Nicola says, this is a numbers game. They only have to get lucky once. So, and the more you interact, the more you transact online, the more chances they have of you falling for something. We all love our devices. We sleep with them beside our heads. We wake up blurry-eyed. We click on things. Anybody can fall for one of these scams. And some of them are very sophisticated, but some of them are really straightforward. And he asked the question about, well, how do they tailor these? How do they psychologically get to us? Well, there's a famous thing I always remember. A guy said to me when I told him his account was hacked, and I said, they have your password. And he said, does that mean I have to rename my puppy? Because he realised that that's what they do on social media. They find out details about you, and they would use that to try and guess your passwords and so on. And so it's in those sort of basic cyber hygiene things we can stop people from being able to take advantage of the fact that we rely on technology so much.
I saw something the other day where it said, because it's coming up on my phone all the time now, you need to change your password. It's too easy. And I heard some people said, oh, you need to put a capital letter in it. So they always put a capital letter at the start. Then you're told you have to put numbers in, so they always put a 1 at the end. I mean, in terms...
And then you have to put in, I think everyone puts in the exclamation mark then after one, isn't it? Yeah.
So do we need to be a bit more clever?
Yeah, look, the last time I was here, Tommy, we talked about as what I call the underwear rule when it comes to passwords.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that's effectively is you don't want to share them, you want to change them regularly, and you want to make them exotic. Right, so you have big, long, exotic passwords, and generally passphrases using different characters in there as well. And if you can keep those 3 rules, you can generally have a really strong password to stop people, and not to use the same passwords in different systems.
That's so hard.
Brain capacity, like it's just so hard because you need passwords for everything, and then you don't want to be writing them down. Listen, it would drive you mad, but come here, we've got Black Friday and Cyber Monday, God help us, coming up. What do we need to be, Paul, first of all, what do we need to be looking out for when you're online? There has to be just simple things that you can see right now to be like, OK, this will save me.
Absolutely. Look, there's nothing 100% safe, right? So whatever I say it's just in general context.
Yeah.
But what you're looking for is to know that you're going to the proper website, the proper web address of the actual retailer that you're trying to go to. If you're not sure, or if it's an artisan kind of an online retailer or something like that, Google offers a service called Safe Browsing, where you can actually check that website to see if it's dubious, whether it's infected with...
Say that again, safe?
It's called Safe Browsing. So just Google Safe Browsing. You can actually type in and paste in the address, and it will come back and tell you whether it's safe or not.
Great.
So that's a really good tip to get people, if it's not like, you know, your Brown Thomas or your Arnott's.ie or whatever it happens to be, and it's something less known, you can actually check those small
We know where
kind of
Paul's
websites
shopping
out.
now. Capital and a number one at the end.
So anyway, so so if it's not that well known, that's what you're going to be about. You want to check those things. But look, we all have to take a bit of a responsibility here. You need to make sure your devices have their updates on them. What these criminals, these bad guys want to do is, they don't just want to get your password, they want to put some software on your devices, so then they can control and monitor your life, what your bank account details are, where you are, turn on your microphone, turn on your camera. That's the escalation that Nicola was talking about. They want to go to the next stage, so they want you to click on something to get something onto your device, so they can escalate it from there.
I mean, it's frightening for people who aren't really tech savvy, even people who are tech savvy. Nicola, can I ask, there are going to be people who are going to be scammed.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there, don't be afraid that if you think you've clicked on a link or you put your details in, if someone was to take money from your account, like, is there any comeback from this?
Yeah, the banks are generally very good, so that you instantly get in touch with your bank as soon as you realise, and they are very good, and also get in touch, of course, with the Gardaí, because they will help. They have a specific fraud squad for this, so it is really important. Now, often people don't realise for a while that they have been scammed, but as soon as you realise, it's important to do that.
Paul, you have something else?
Yeah, there's a key tip on that. I mean, under European law, we're protected that only up to €150 on your credit card. So use a credit card online. You have extra protection when you're purchasing online, and monitor your statements, because therefore there is cover, essentially. That's your exposure is up to €150.
And there's something very simple as well when you're looking at it. HTTPS at the start, and there's a lock as well where you put in on the thing on your browser, right? Yeah. So just look for those.
That's a good indicator that the site is secure. At least it's protecting your details as the details leave your device and travel up to the website.
Okay.
So it's an indicator that they've taken security some way seriously.
I swear to God, we could have you in every week for the new scams that are there all the time. Nicola Fox Hamilton and of course Paul C. Dwyer, thank you both so much for joining us this morning, and have fun over Cyber Monday and Black Friday. It's going to be a nightmare. Just don't go on. Just don't shop those days.
Yeah, shop local instead.
There you go.
There you
Tommy.
go.